The weather forecast for today, we have clear skies off to that morning trek into the workforce. And look at that, the traffic is flowing. There is no congestion. Welcome, everybody, to the EeoN channel. Hey, we got some information for you today. Want to let you know that we have this organization that we created 4 years ago called the Launchpad. The Launchpad, what is the Launchpad? We teach people how to manage assets, how to acquire assets. Just did a video talking about the $400 billion lawsuit and the assets that was created as a result of that filing. I'm telling you, it was ingenious, and that's what we do here. We create ingenious things, but we stick to the law. We stay within the framework of the law. We do not operate outside the law. Doesn't matter what someone says the law is or is not, we follow the law as written. Supreme Court has held on several occasions, including in, pay attention, the #1 lawsuit of all time, Henry Schein versus Archer and White Sales. Henry Schein versus Archer and White Sales was regarding arbitration. The Supreme Court had a unanimous decision in Henry Schein versus Archer and White Sales. What did they unanimously decide? They decided, and this is very important, that the courts must follow the statutes as written. They cannot interpret it. They cannot make their own so-called rulings or orders regarding what they feel. They can't go by their opinion. They have to follow the statute as written. Why? Because Mr. K.C. Davis, if you don't know who K.C. Davis is, he is the godfather of administrative law, has documented fully that it is a fundamental principle in law that administrative agencies cannot operate outside the scope of the statute, the requirements of the agency. So the courts must follow the statute as written because the courts are not judicial. They're administrative. We're under emergency rule, but most people don't understand that. Doesn't matter. We have the proof. Congress admitted that they violated your right, my right, everybody's rights in the United States by enacting that piece of junk legislation known as the March 9, 1933 Act amending the Trading with the Enemy Act. Woo! Give me 1 second. I will beat your behind if you don't go lay down. Sorry. My dog jumped out of the cage again. And, oh no, I'm not going to beat his behind. I just wanted him to know that I knew that he was outside his cage. I got cameras, okay? He ain't did nothing slick. No, I let him out. So I let him jump out of the cage. He patrols the property. He's chasing the cats. Why must I chase the cat? All right, back to our story. No, he doesn't catch the cats. He knows better. He knows I will kill him if he hurts my cats, day and night. Day and night. But I call him day and night. Repeating of the same name twice. There you go. That's the world in which I live, the farm in which I have that I call a farm. It's not a farm. I don't grow any vegetation. Yes, I do. I grow a lot of vegetation. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, back to the storyline. As K.C. Davis highlighted and documented, administrative agencies must follow administrative policies and administrative procedures as written. The Supreme Court confirmed that by saying that the courts must follow the statute as written. See, Congress doesn't write statutes. Yes, they do produce the statute at large, but that's not a statute. That is a law of the United States. It's taken from the Act of Congress, the enactment. So it's not a statute as in a codification. Codifications are statutes. Revised so-called statutes are codifications. Those are regulations. Those are administrative regulations because Congress is allowed to regulate, okay, anything involving commerce. Now they've taken that and twisted it and thrown it all in the so-called webs with so many different intersections. Don't worry about that. What we're getting ready to do, and I want you to understand, we produced 2 documents dealing with the comprehensive nature of taxes and corporations and how they document their assets and how they do their accounting ledgers and how they utilize the accrual method. We're getting ready to start a course. It will take 18 months, 18 months to complete the course. But by the time you finish completing the course, you will know all things necessary in filing your taxes as a corporation, including consolidated corporations, sole proprietorships, and so forth. You will know all things taxes. Not that you have to go to some stupid school to learn it, because they can only go by the same information. We're creating the curriculum, we're creating the course. But what gives us the accreditation? We don't need to be accredited. The law doesn't require accreditation. Who needs to accredit us? Who is it going to be? Another man? Another person who's required to study the exact same stuff? Another person who's required to know the exact same things? Another person who's required to follow the exact same rules? No, what you need to do is understand the centralization of the information. See, the problem is the way the law is written. Notice the volumes of statutes that Congress has written. So Congress literally writes the statutes as a puzzle. You see, it would be one thing if Congress took all of the laws dealing with taxes and put them all in one volume. Oh, they did, the U.S. Code. Not so. That is a lie. All of the laws governing taxes are not in the U.S. Code because Congress didn't compile the U.S. Code. The Law Revision Council put together the U.S. Code. Congress created a bunch of statutes called tax law, tax statute, at large. Those are all over the place, and they're not all included in the U.S. Code. Go ahead, do your research. Confirm what I just said. And most of the U.S. Code doesn't cover the laws that are still grandfathered. You see, the U.S. Code gives you what's called an editorial. Somebody edited it. Who gave them permission to edit it? Somebody gave their opinion of what they thought it should mean. This was not Congress. This was someone interfering with the process. It doesn't matter. We don't care about their interference. This is not about that. This is about individuals understanding what the tax law says, what their rights are, and being able to prove it and rebut presumptions to the contrary. You see, that's what this course will do. No other course does it. Go to any college and see if they don't just sit up there and tell you what the textbook understanding is. They don't teach you how to rebut a presumption. They teach you how to stay within a particular set of lines. We don't mark outside the lines. We stay within the proverbial box, but we understand how the proverbial box was created. What happens is most colleges, most universities create boxes within boxes within boxes, which is why they call them college courses. And by creating these boxes within boxes within boxes, and the one thing I've learned when I went to college is that you can't challenge the professor. You can't embarrass the professor. Now that is the number one rule, and it is a legitimate rule that should be in place. Here's the problem, and it is a problem. The professor doesn't allow individuals to challenge his knowledge because he is under a curriculum. He must follow the curriculum. The curriculum is mandated. It is the same as the courts must follow what the statute says, not the revised statute, the code, because they're administrative agencies. A professor is an administrative agency. So he is bound by administrative policy because they receive donations, and whatever their donors say they will follow, they will follow. If you don't believe me how this works in the regular society and regular law and regular information, this is why our world is so backwards at this time, because corporations dictate what you have access to. This has been going on, as they say, for far too long, but it is what goes on. So what we are going to do is we're putting together this curriculum, this course, which will be weekly, daily, 5 days a week. Why? Because you need to be an expert. 5 days a week for 16 months. Look at the amount of days. Pay attention. Look at the amount of days of covering information on the same subject, taxes, so that you can understand taxes, so that you can teach your neighbor, teach your mother, teach your father, teach your sisters, teach your sons, teach your daughters. See, we've already showed you that a person can document their accumulating assets, income, wealth over time, from the time of conception, as far as their estate is concerned. We can prove that hands down. Nobody can argue it because it is the law. However, we're going to show you how to maximize it without trying to pay attention, as we stated in the previous video, without trying to make yourself a trillionaire. This is not about getting rich. This is about maintaining a standard of living, because your job will be taxes. Your job will be doing your taxes. You will pay yourself for doing your taxes. You will have documentation and evidence showing that you qualify to receive the salary and or wages and or monthly payments as evident by your profession. See, here's the thing. A lot of people are losing jobs right now to AI. Well, this way you don't lose a job. This way you can actually use AI to perfect your profession. Our job is to help you maintain, accumulate, acquire assets. We'll let you know more about this in the future. Hold on now. The organization, the Launchpad, was created to help people with assets. So this has been a 4-year plan. Actually, it's been in the making since about 2011. I told you, I did the video, How I Paid Off My Mortgage Without Spending a Dime. That was the title of the video. That's the thing that made everybody focus on me. And once that video was done, other people were getting their mortgages paid off by following that process, and eventually they blocked people's access to that process. Hold on now. That hasn't changed. Go back and look at the video talking about the drawdown. The drawdown request using the payment order, we'll be talking more about that in the future as well. That won't be a class. We'll just be giving you that information. The drawdown request, the payment order, do your research on that, everyone. That pays off your mortgage and nobody can argue it in court. It is the number one stopper. It is a game stopper for them. They cannot argue that it is not an acceptable form of payment because they accept those payments all the time and it operates as a payoff. Just go do your research. Like I said, we're not here to take your money. We're not here to take anything from you. We're here to, well, the best word for it is empower you. But we do it for those who are serious. See, this course is not going to be one of those where you pay monthly. No, you will pay one lump sum, but you will be required to participate. There will be no refunds. There will be no leniency. This is, the better word for it is for real. And we will keep the class small, not large. There will be no large class. Why? Because you can better help a smaller group than you can a larger group at once with information like this, because we will be discussing taxes. We won't just be telling you. We'll be having a discussion. You will be required to do research. You'll be required to understand certain phrases because that's how taxes are written. We'll let you know more about this in the future. I have to get ready for a consultation. I apologize. Have a good day, everybody. I hope this information was somewhat informational, educational, and beneficial. All of those yo's. Goodbye.